Hey, hey. All right. So Ron DeSantis is about to enter the 2024 presidential election, and he's doing it by way of Twitter and Elon Musk. Is that right?
Yep, they're going to have an interaction of some sort. I don't know if it's going to be someone interviewing, like Elon interviewing. That'd be weird because they're both the interviewee usually. So they're going to have a meeting and talk about things. And I don't know. It's kind of an exciting idea, but it's on Twitter Spaces, so it benefits Elon Musk because he's trying to get Twitter Spaces up as a thing. He's trying to create that social media thing, and obviously Ron DeSantis wants to um, do two things. He wants to go into the Twitter space, which was notoriously Donald Trump's
Mm-hmm.
area, and he wants to also be associated with Elon Musk, which is a very popular person with conservatives. So,
Mm-hmm.
that is why that's kind of significant. It's interesting. I don't know how it's going to play out. Who's going to be asking who questions what, or it's so like they're both people that get interviewed. They're not interviewers. And so I don't know. It's just intersecting of people that I like. And
Yeah.
so we'll see. Maybe they have someone else there. Maybe they have maybe they show up and then they have a Matt Taibbi there or something asking questions. Or who knows? I
It
mean,
seems it seems odd to me that Elon Musk would even be engaging um, at this level
oh yeah.
with a presidential candidate, and that not only that is he engaging with the presidential candidate. I don't know that they've really interacted much before any of this.
He's commented on because with SpaceX operates out of Texas and Florida because they use the Kennedy Space Station
Right.
for different things, and so he's had a lot of positive interactions, and also he praised DeSantis on some of his COVID not locking down and keeping his and
Right.
keep and so on that sense, and I think at one point recently within the last couple of months he said something about DeSantis. Um, um fitting into the type of person that would be a good presidential candidate, like a more of a normal person, because
Mm-hmm.
what he's looking for is because he said he voted for Biden, and he says like, but I'd prefer that a more normal person were in office. And so I think he's basically saying he doesn't want Biden, he doesn't want Trump, he wants somebody that is a more normal person. And
Yeah.
so that's where DeSantis falls for him, is a more normal person. He seems to be saying he did good things for Florida. Florida's successful. Elon's still, a Democrat in a lot of ways, but so like it's just a matter of he thinks that DeSantis is sure he's the same option, and we can see who, like if it's DeSantis versus Biden, he will for sure vote for DeSantis. That's my opinion. But if
Yeah.
it
I don't think that he would vote for. I don't think that he would vote for Biden again.
He might not. He might not because Biden, unfortunately, is just not there. I mean, he has the ability to sometimes look like he's there, but he's
Yeah.
not. There's a small window, and they close the door or wherever. There's a certain.
I'm pretty sure they either caffeinate the crap out of him or
They
they
juice
give
him.
him
Oh,
something.
they juice him.
They
Um,
juice him with something, because when he gets up on the debate stage, like it's like he's a different person
yeah.
than when he's running for president, walking around doing any form of speaking, public speaking. He's like a completely different. I bet you when he's done with those debates, he falls asleep in the car, and other people carry him out like a baby and lay him down for
So
his to go to
I
sleep.
think I think the realistic thing is, how, especially on like some cold winter days or whatever, it takes when you get up in the morning and you got to do everything. It takes you like an hour and a half to really become yourself, type of thing, right? To really you got cleaned up and you kind of feel like you're awake. You had your coffee, do different things. I feel like that's what he's like. Like there's always a huge process of and a certain time window of when like he has to be sleeping, and then they got to get him up like an hour and a half before his thing, and they need to get him up to speed, get him whatever else, and like you're on.
Yeah,
This is your window of amazing. This is your best right here.
yeah.
And even if it's just that, but I mean, they could also just give him a booster shot of something too. Who knows? I mean, for the
I
debate,
wouldn't doubt it.
I'm sure. I mean, but that's not
Yeah,
sustainable for a daily thing. So I'm assuming they're not trying to hurt his health, and so they're not doing it daily. It's just for special events.
yeah, like
To get him up.
debates,
Yeah.
like presidential debates.
But they close the lid. That's what's called closing the lid. So
Yeah,
a lot of times when you have like you'll take questions or things or inquiries or things in your press office and places as a president, but he closes the lid, which is normally happens like sometime between noon and 4 o'clock each day for most presidencies and most presidents before it's like that's for the next day,
yeah,
but it's like 9-10 in the morning every
yeah.
day. And they have like his agenda list. If you see his agenda is like 0 or 1 things that are on the agenda for every day, and that's it. I mean,
It's amazing.
most presidents have like 72 things listed down that they're even if they're just even if they're just even if they're fluffing the list to look great, it's still not 1 thing or 0 things.
Yeah,
That is crazy.
I mean, I remember watching Trump, and he would like. I feel like I would see him almost every day. I mean, there was a
Oh,
time where I
it
saw
was
him
him
every
or
day.
Kaylee that came out every day.
Yeah, like he would be he would it would almost be like he would in the morning he would get up and he would talk to the press and do
So
like the
he was
press
welcoming
briefing.
of. So he'd be walking on the Air Force One or whatever, and people ask for questions, he'd be like, "Yeah." He steps up and he answers some things and says some things and blah blah
Yeah.
blah, and he goes down the plane every single day, basically.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it was like he was present. He was present.
yeah.
Um yeah, so what do you think about Ron DeSantis actually entering? How do you feel about it?
Well, I love me some Ron DeSantis. Um, I do wish that the I do wish that the Trump and DeSantis thing didn't have to collide so much as a as a thing here. But what DeSantis is going to do in some of the leaked videos that one of his people put out like 3 or 4 days ago, it shows him doing like debate prep and DeSantis was doing some prep
Strategizing.
and strategizing, doing some things, and talking to his people,
Right.
and it looks like he's being disingenuous with how he's trying to portray him of how he's trying to treat Trump supporters. Like, yeah, I can't piss his supporters off. So what I'm going to say is, and basically what he says is like, hey, if I can't, so I'm going to agree with them and praise them for things I agree with, and things I don't agree with, I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to talk to him privately. So that is a strategy that he's developed, but that developing when he's trying to figure out
He's
the
strategizing.
delicate thing, right? They
How did
broadcast
it get leaked? How did that get
I'm
leaked?
assuming someone in the DeSantis camp just decided it was juicy. I don't know. I don't know how it got leaked. I only saw
That's kind of
clips.
crazy.
I know. It's very disappointing.
Well, how would you? Okay, so if it came down to DeSantis versus Trump, if they were the last two that were standing in the Republican nomination, who would you aim towards?
So I will back whoever wins.
But we're talking about the Republican primary.
I want DeSantis. I think that Trump has done his job, but partially. So the only reason why I would want, the only thing that's hanging on that makes me want Trump back in is because F those guys, like here he is again, assholes,
Mm-hmm.
because they did the constant lying with the different stories and the Russia Gate and all sorts of things. It's almost like a big FU again. But I say that both he and Biden are just old. Why can't we have DeSantis like 44, right? Why can't we keep people Why can't we get people that are in their prime to do things? I don't know why we have to. See, you can have wisdom being older, and I just don't think. I think the wisdom position is a cabinet position. I don't think the wisdom position is
The presidential
is the one
position.
running around on a plane 17 times a day and things like that. I don't think that's an 80-year-old's job in general. I think that they're better suited at things that are a lower pace where they can actually where they can actually provide wisdom and insight and strategy and whatever else. I just wish it were a younger man's game. I don't want to constantly be geriatric central where they're always just old. There's nothing wrong with old. Old is great. And if you get old, you're fortunate. It's just a matter of, sure, Trump is still very active and whatever else, but he could also suddenly die. So it's like, as you get to a certain stage in life when you're 80 years old and it's like they get in the presidency, then you just have a sudden heart attack. It just seems like a lot more likely in general because we have a DeSantis. If we're
DeSantis
doing
is like a mini Trump. He's like a younger. In many ways, he's like a younger Trump.
He is. He's more nuanced with his speech. He still is able to say things difficult and strong, and he won't pull punches. But he is more.
I think he's very clear in like when he speaks. I think that he makes a lot of really good sense. He connects the dots really well, and he's much more difficult to take out of context and misinterpret.
Yeah,
so that can also be looked at those notes really well.
But that can also be looked at as politician polish, and so some people don't. So some people don't like that idea. So I get it. Like I will support Trump if he wins the nomination. I just wish that Trump supporters would say the same thing about DeSantis. And even though they know he's a good guy and a conservative, because he committing the sin of going against Trump, that is not loyal. That is not being loyal, and I don't like that take. I don't like it at all. I mean, that my mother is all about that.
DeSantis is not loyal.
My mother will not commit. Yes, because he was backed by Trump, and now he should be supporting Trump until he's done, and then he can come in afterwards. So
I would actually more or less agree with that.
That's what my mother stands. That's what my mother stands at. My mother won't agree to the idea that I say, okay, so would you vote for it? And she won't commit.
There is a level of betrayal
for DeSantis because it feels like betrayal.
Yeah, I mean there was a level of betrayal there when he doesn't even really want to comment on something, and he doesn't really take a position when Trump is quote unquote at his weakest moment, which is not even really a weak. Like I don't know what Trump's weakest moment is because he's had so many that it's like they're not actually It turns out that they're not actually weak.
So, but the Mar-a-Lago thing, he did say something about that. I don't remember what it was anymore, but like when they did the FBI raid and stuff,
he said, "I don't want to comment on it." Is what he said.
That no, but he said something else.
Well, he eventually came out and said, "Yeah, this doesn't seem like it was the proper procedure and the proper." But it took a few days for him to do it.
Yeah,
when really he should have come out right away and kind of gotten had his back.
You know, that's definitely a very difficult thing. Like, for instance, I think it took him a very long time to craft the simple idea of that leak that he had. The idea of that, hey, you know what, I'm going to agree with him on this, and I'm going to talk to him privately if it comes to or whatever else. So like that is very nuanced politics. I don't think that
that's not a good leak to come out though.
No. What I'm
not
saying
necessarily.
What I'm saying is that I think it's so. That just demonstrates what DeSantis has to do. Because if you're going to interact with Trump,
you can't if he's going to come out and bash Trump.
No,
I don't know what
so
he's
he's
doing if
not
you think
trying to come
is
out and bash Trump, is the
yeah,
idea.
he can't.
So what he's doing is like
It's a huge
when you're being
shot in the
silent too
foot.
long, it's almost like I don't know what to do with this. And so that's what it says to me. It says to
That's
me like
yeah.
I don't know how to handle a Trump situation because I don't want to. It's like I want to be, you know. So I understand it because of that. Because like it was sooner than he was planning on commenting. He didn't plan on getting in that early. And it was thrown on this doorstep with having things happen in Florida like that. He was like, he hasn't. I don't think he completely formed his strategy yet with how he wants to deal with it because it is very sensitive to get people like my mother or like you apparently or whatever to
Yeah.
not be disenfranchised by a response that DeSantis would have. So yes, you can say it's a failure. Like it was like 90 minutes was too long for Trump to wait on January 6th to really do. Like you can do that, but there's also other reasons why that might have happened. You can't just we're reading into it our own reasons for why things take so long sometimes, and so I don't just like, go to the idea of like, well, he should have done this. Yeah, there was silence, but maybe there's a reason. Maybe he just hadn't formulated. He didn't know what to do. Maybe there was certain things. Maybe there's certain things, government behind the scenes with the federal procedures and where there's like certain requests that happened and things didn't happen on the right timing with when the 5 o'clock ends and the news cycle starts the next day and things. There's all sorts of details of why it could have taken 2 days, but
So with when it comes to DeSantis, I guess my opinion, I think that he's way too fresh. I think he's way too fresh for it. I think he did a really good job as a governor.
mm-hmm.
He does a very good job as a governor, and he takes positions that I tend to agree with.
Mm-hmm.
He speaks with the media in a way that I really enjoy. He doesn't get manipulated. He doesn't get tossed around. He fights back. He does a lot of things that I really like.
Like Christie in some ways. But Christie was at one point.
I guess so, but I don't even
on board
Christie,
at that point. So yeah.
Even Christie, I'm not. I don't count myself as a Republican.
Yeah,
so like when
he said some awesome stuff against the teachers unions back in the day when he was running for president.
I think Christie said some awesome stuff towards what is his name? Rubio. Marco Rubio. Is there feedback?
I don't hear feedback.
Oh, I feel like I'm hearing some feedback.
Maybe that's better. I turn the volume down.
Okay, that's probably now it's gone.
Sorry.
I think. No, I still hear it.
I need to get a headset.
I moved my mic closer, so
okay.
Maybe I sound a little.
It might be because my speaker is going into your mic.
I've got you right here.
Oh, you're only right there, yeah. So I do need to get a headset for this because there's another thing I noticed when I'm listening back. It has a noise canceling thing where it deadens one or the other because it's trying to only have one going on at a time.
Well, we'll see if any of this comes back on the playback. But with Ron DeSantis, I'm glad that he is running for president. But I'm glad that he's running because I think that it gives him an opportunity to put his name on the ballot and be in the running for the future so that people can have an official impression of him.
We have a really, really good bench right now. If you're talking about,
I don't think we have.
Okay. I like Vivek. I've heard him a lot more now.
I do like Vivek.
I like him a lot. And I
don't think that he stands any real chance because he has zero familiarity. And that's why I think that he's also kind of running is because he wants to be
right.
This is a time
fire this time, but I'm saying like he's a bench. He's really young and he's on the bench. That's what I'm
sure. But I think that this is actually a time, like I think everybody knows that this is Trump's race when it comes to Republicans. I think everybody knows it.
Sure.
But I think that it is a great opportunity for people to insert themselves, get some name recognition, get their faces out there so that other people can see them and hear them in a more long form format.
Yeah.
And it allows people to get a feel for them that they can then carry on until they run again in the future.
As long as there isn't a bunch of character destruction that happens, because
Well, that's actually perfectly fine, because as you can see with Joe Biden, it doesn't matter about character destruction. Joe Biden destroyed, he absolutely obliterated his character multiple times. I mean, he probably ran for president, I don't know, it's like either 4 to 6 times.
Yeah.
It's some absurd amount. And the only way that he could make it this far is by hiding in a basement. Like he had to not talk, because every time he talked before, he would say something and then they would call him out and be like, that's not true at all. You weren't on the top of your class. You were at the bottom of your class. You didn't have 3 degrees. You had 1 degree. Like, and there was so many stupid things that he would say that would get him.
And he couldn't help himself because he's been doing it for 50 years.
Yeah.
He
can't help himself.
It used to be that there was no internet to hear you speak lies. So you could just do the stump speech at a different city every single day and say whatever they need to hear, and that's what it was.
I kind of want to put this out there now. And if somebody who sees this, if they can manage to find it, that it will go viral. But I can't find it. I've looked. But it's this video of Joe Biden, and he's much, much, much younger. And he talks about how he was getting into, how he wanted to get into politics. He wanted to become a senator. He wanted to get in the game. And after he got out of college, he approached like the DNC, or he approached some organization that basically funds you and gets you involved in all of this stuff. And he said, what they told me was, you need to go, have you built a relationship with the lobbyists? And he's like, no. And he's like, well, you need to go do that. When you go build relationships with the lobbyists, then you can come and talk to us and we'll help you out. So he took like 2 or 3 years, built relationships with the lobbyists, and then he came back, and then that's when they helped him out. They boosted him up, and then bam, he got in. So, I mean, he was like, the way that he got into politics, he effectively sold his soul to the lobbyists in order to become a senator, in order to get into politics. I mean, it's crazy. But for Ron DeSantis, my position is, I'm very skeptical about Ron DeSantis. I do like him. There's a lot of things about him that I think are really positive, but I really have a hard time shaking this kind of like prone to establishment influence feeling with him. I get that he pushes back. I get he has all the telltale signs that he's not establishment, but he just still gives me this establishment-esque vibe.
So I hear other people saying that, and it's also because money, all of the not Trump money, is like, oh, this guy, please, the closest thing we can get to maybe not have Trump again. So, and these are establishment people that are trying to donate, and ultimately, when you're a politician, as long as that money isn't paying you off, if it's just like support you, I'll take support from anybody. Anyone that wants to support.
But if anybody thinks that kind of stuff is not going to end up having an influence, it's like, hey, you know what?
I think
all the money for that goes to Trump, right? Like the people who are like, yeah, I like Trump, or I kind of like Trump, but I think his time is done, and I'm gonna put my money towards Ron DeSantis. Like, okay, fine, but there's like, I think that there are establishment forces that are more or less thinking, hey, you know what? If we can get this fresh guy in here who doesn't really know how this entire system operates, because as everybody says, is when you get into that presidency, it's a completely different story from whatever it is you thought was going on.
Well, yeah, Bush
it's
had said some
completely
stuff
different.
in an interview with Glenn Beck, or actually he said that Glenn Beck talked about when he did an interview, but then he was talking to him off camera, the type of stuff Bush was saying about like, yeah, so ultimately it doesn't matter who gets in office because basically the State Department does everything in a lot of ways. Like,
yeah, they just have to sit. You just have to
they have
sit
the actual
back.
information and you make the call, but they know everything and you kind of got to trust them to a certain extent. So it's really hard to know, so which makes some sort of sense, but we need someone that can know, that can figure out character, and someone that can participate. Someone just doesn't get strong armed by whatever the state wants to do.
Or you have somebody who has a strong enough of a gut feeling, and they have enough wisdom to make the right call. Yeah. And when I look at Trump, and I think if anybody really looks at Trump in an honest way, time after time after time, he made the right call. Now, look, there's some things that it panned out that it wasn't the right call. All these lockdowns and all this stuff that we kind of went through, that a lot of people are like,
COVID, for sure. His weakness is COVID.
And sure, his weakness is COVID, but I think if you're gonna blame Trump for the lockdowns, I don't think that you're being as honest as you really should, because everybody understood what was happening. Everybody understood, okay, look, I mean, there were people who were like, this is nothing, and then they'd go out and they'd get sick and then they would die, and there was those types of people, sure, but there was the vast majority of people were like, dude, this is crazy, we don't know anything, we got to figure all this stuff out. Like when you're in this cloud of question marks, and it's like, what is it that we're living through right now? Taking the cautious action, especially when you have the media that is completely villainizing you for not making enough masks. Oh, when are you going to have the mask? Well, we got masks going. Like, we're making tons of masks. Like, you can't even believe it. Well, where are they? Well, they're going to the people who really need them, which is the people in the hospitals. They need these masks. Well, the people are getting, and it's like they would just they would shift the goalpost constantly, and it was kind of like, that's what you're up against, and everybody's more or less like, we can see, being a Trump supporter, we can see the game that they're playing, but even within that game, they're not exactly wrong, but they are wrong, because it's like, dude, this guy's literally doing everything that you possibly can think of to do as quickly as possible.
Yeah. He did everything very quickly. That's good.
He sent
cruise ships. Yeah.
Yeah, he sent cruise. Yeah, he got cruise ships set up. He got like the ventilators manufactured at an alarming rate, even to a surplus, to where he could even offer it to other countries.
Yep.
Right. I mean, there were and I don't think that actually ended up being a good thing, but for the time, for what he knew,
that stuff is fine. Nobody cares about that. Democrats wouldn't want to give him credit for. I would give him credit for that, because he did do everything he could as fast as possible. The issue comes with he wasn't quite confident enough to back like a DeSantis early with his decisions on what to do. He said, he can do. He's a state. He can do what he want to do. If I were him, I would not do that. I would not have people do.
Yeah, because he's trying to push. He's pushing a grand narrative that says, look, I'm going to support small businesses to remain open and to remain like essential places. I need them to remain open. And so if Ron DeSantis wants to keep everything open, but I mean, what are you going to say as president? Look, I think we should just keep everything. I think we should just keep everything open. I think we should do what Florida's doing. Like, no, did you not see New York? New York had a crap ton of people die. And for you to just be like, well, I think that New York should remain open. That would be the dumbest thing to say ever.
It was that he wasn't backing the governors that were choosing to do things different in their states, early on he was not backing them in doing so. He would say because Trump was principled
It
in the
was
idea of not
doublespeak.
making them do anything,
Yeah, it was.
but
I
he's
think it was.
openly saying like, I wouldn't do that if I were them. I don't think they should do that. I think they're making the wrong decision, but I'm not. But that's their states. I'm not going to
But
stop
it's up
it.
to the states.
So yes, that
Yeah.
is fine. But I'm
double
saying
speak.
it's a way to criticize them for. It would have been better the other way around. Say, you know what? Let's see. It's like I want this to work. Like if you were to have more of that attitude, is like, hey,
If you
like,
want to
these guys feel it's safe to do that. Let's see if it works. And I want more of this in the country if this works.
Yeah,
you know,
because if
I
I
wish
mean,
you
you
had
could
more of
think
that
about
kind
it.
of attitude.
If you think about it, like, okay, we just had a crap ton of losses in New York and in Washington and in California, and it's like, okay, and here's Florida, and it's like, okay, which one am I going to back? Like, you have to back something. You have to back one of them, right? And the one that you're going to want to back is, what is the safest option? The safest option is if people are not going out, if people are keeping to themselves. That's the safe option. That's going to save more lives, presumably, right? Especially right after seeing several of these states just lose massive amounts of people, right? And so, but that's where the double speak kind of comes in, and he's like, but the governor of Florida can do what he wants, and I'm not going to step on top of him. Say again?
I said I never stayed inside.
Well, yeah, sure, but I mean, there was a lot of people. A lot of people did, and it's like, I understand the politics of it, and when you're in politics and you're playing the political game, you have to engage in that. That's just, you have to play it, because you are battling in a sense against people's opinions and their internalized perceptions and how they are interpreting everything. And if they're seeing these states with thousands of people dying every single day, tens of thousands of people dying every single day.
That's also part of the media thing where it was reported cases, and deaths. It wasn't. It's like, yes, the more
they highlighted the negatives of everything.
the more testing you have, the more positive results you're going to have.
Yeah.
So if we do a really, really good job of getting tests out, then you're going to have really, really high numbers.
Hey, right now, the media, they guided everything in a really irresponsible way, in my opinion. I think that they caused so much division. Like, we had division before COVID hit, and then post that, like during all of COVID, we got so much division that it was just like, this is like friendships are being broken, family members are being destroyed. Like, there were so many things.
I would have fought somebody if they tried to yell at me, honestly.
Right. Well, that's kind of the point.
I'm outside. I'm not wearing a mask. Yeah, you can just bite it, dude. Like, get away from me.
Sure.
People were yelling.
I was one of the people was like, I respect people's individual choices, and to me, I was like, this is what I think is best to do. I do think that going inside, like if you're going inside of a place, it is smarter to have it to wear a mask. I think that that's an appropriate thing for people to do. Right. Okay. We're in a critical time where we don't know what's going on. We don't know anything.
Early on, I was of that mindset very early on, but like even
after 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, it was kind of like, all right, I think we can kind of calm things down because we gained enough information for us to know.
By like April, I was completely done.
April is when April of 2021.
No, when they opened things up for that first summer, for that first month, remember, and then they closed back down again.
Because April 1st is when they did the lockdown. April 1st is when everything everything hit the fan. It was April, May, June, July, August, September. Yeah. I want to say August, September. So 5 months.
I know that we did a wedding. We had a wedding during the time we were not supposed to have a wedding. It was like June or July or something like that. And we weren't, none of us were wearing masks. We didn't give a crap. We just basically
you just say, this is, we would rather have a good event.
some people did get sick after that, but we all just saying, okay, if we get sick, we get sick.
Mhm.
It's like I would rather get sick once a year, which is what has happened. I've gotten sick once every year, and I've had COVID probably twice or whatever. I've never tested, so I don't know for sure, but I'll just get sick. I'm not gonna do this and try to think of if it's
Yeah.
actually working or not. Yes, it'll stop blowing air around, and so if you're in a room with a bunch of people, it might stop you from spreading your stuff faster. But in general, the mask won't stop you from
Right. It's not
ingesting.
gonna stop it completely, right? And I
Correct.
think that but it took time, right? It took time for people to understand that. So to blame Trump for COVID and his handling of COVID, I think he did the best that anybody possibly could have done. You look at things of how Obama handled a virus, you look at things of anybody else who's ever handled a virus. Anyone. I think Trump handled it absolutely hands down the best that anybody could.
Sure. I
By
think he did
far.
I think he did really well, like say ramping up all those other services that you wouldn't think you could do it that fast. And the same thing with, although you can also criticize him, even though it was fast before the shots came out, it was fast, right? In like November.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's also part of the mandate situation that resulted from it. It's like a mandate
He
for
had
something
nothing
that's
to do
not
with the
going through the
mandate.
approval process. It's like
He had nothing to do with the mandate. Trump had nothing to do with the
no,
mandate.
I know. I used to deliver on base.
That was Biden.
Yeah,
100%
I used to deliver
Biden.
on base and
governors.
during all that pandemic and stuff, and I was making deliveries, and I would go on base, and like they weren't made to. I mean, they were technically to say, hey, if you're hanging around in big groups, wear a mask. But otherwise, they were just like, yeah, just basically no one was wearing masks unless they were in a crowded room with a bunch of people, like big bunch of people. But for the most part, people were at their own desk, whatever else, no one was, and people were wandering around the halls without a mask on. It was whatever. If they weren't sick, if you were sick,
Sure.
you stay home. And I'd make deliveries. I didn't make a mask on. I just did whatever. As soon as Biden got out of office, that day, there was a mandate. There was a mandate for masks all the way up for everything on campus there.
Yeah, and it was stupid. I refused it. I was like, no, I'm not dealing with any of this nonsense.
There's shots out. It's reduced in effect for the people that are dangerous, that are in danger. No, it's like no need for me to do this. Yeah, the shots are off since November, and all the old people and medical people had it by January. So
okay, so I feel like we're spending so much time on.
It's so easy to go back to that because of trauma.
Yeah,
but how about so other news?
Okay, I have a point that I would want to make though, is when it comes to Ron DeSantis, right? Like, I feel shaky about Ron DeSantis. I think he's too young. I think he's too inexperienced. I think he's too open to establishment influence. Not necessarily accepting and going along with it, but more being controlled by it, right? They have the information, they have everything, all of the tools that they need in order, they can feed you bits and pieces of information so that you make the decision that you do, right? So Trump, what I get out of Trump is I know what I'm getting out of Trump. I know I'm getting, generally speaking, world peace is effectively what I'm getting. Right. He's gonna be ramping down on all of these wars. He's gonna be backing out of stuff that he's not backing out, but he's gonna be resolving.
Trump did list issues. A bunch of things on his site yesterday or today.
I don't know who. I would be curious if 10 people click on those websites. I have no idea. It's so well, I don't know why these websites
covered it and showed it up on there. One of the things he's talking about is concealed carry reciprocity is one of the things he's going for, which is basically the idea that if you have a concealed carry license in your state, that means you can go into neighboring states and that's still active. So that's what he's trying to. That's one of the things is in like the first 5.
I could care less. I could care less.
Completely.
That's awesome. That's
So
awesome. That's not
you
a
should be
reason that I
wanting
would vote for
you
him.
should be wanting things like that to get me on board with Trump. So
I think you're going to be on board with Trump regardless because he's going to end up being the nominee. However, here's something that I would also kind of want to mention that is that I found to be surprising for myself, but it turns out not so much, is RFK, Robert F. Kennedy.
yeah. Yep.
I have been listening to him, and I'll be very honest. When I first started listening to him, I was like, this guy's difficult to listen to.
Yeah, because of his voice.
Because he's got an issue with his voice, and it's kind of like, man, do I have to listen to this person? I mean, I guess it's rude, and I shouldn't be saying that kind of a thing. But it's like, do I have to be listening to this guy who struggles to speak? As president, and it can be difficult for the aura, and it can have there's a certain kind of an image that
he has a certain level of personal honor that
but
I
here's
really
the
like
thing.
about it.
I listened to him for not even all that long, and I got used to it. It kind of was like it eventually just kind of became a non-issue for me. And so I think that his voice really needs to be heard, and it needs to be heard more frequently so that people can kind of get over that little hump, because it's a really superficial hump that I don't think is. I knew at the time, I was like, my concern is not a valid concern. It's truly not, but it's also something where I'm thinking about other people and how superficial other people can be. And I'm looking at it like, well, they may just be dismissive, as my initial reaction somewhat was, but then I started listening to him more, and I kind of came to certain levels of conclusions about him. And the main thing that I thought was the most interesting that really kind of has me very much so on his side is that he is anti-establishment. He's not taking crap. If he manages to make it in there, he is doing things his way. And I believe that that's what he's going to do. I don't believe that he's on board with the establishment. I think that he is effectively an enemy of the establishment, as demonstrated by the media's reaction to several of his interviews. He had an ABC interview that was where they asked him a question about vaccines and how he didn't really buy into anymore a lot of the claims, and then he listed off all of these things, but what they did is they cut it all out.
Yep.
They just removed it. And so I was like, there you go. That, to me, that's enough for me to be on board. When you start censoring a presidential candidate like that, when you have these media corporations and they're coming out there saying, we can't air disinformation. We can't get these ideas out there that are not true. To me, it's like, okay, you guys have just removed yourself from the battlefield. You guys are completely worthless because you don't even think that I have enough of an intelligence to figure out what is true or not. So you're helping me make my decision just based off of that. So I want to say this. If the ticket came down to, because remember, I'm not a Republican. If the ticket came down to Ron DeSantis versus RFK, I would go RFK.
Really?
Yeah. And I like Ron DeSantis. But
so the things I'll say that are positive about RFK are that obviously the vaccination, stance that he's taken, where he's not trying to force everyone to take it.
I don't even care about that. It's a complete non-issue.
I care about it a lot. And I also care about the fact that he's against he's against men and women's spaces for like the trans issue thing.
Yeah.
And so that is like, those are the intersecting areas in which I can agree. And he seems to be for saying things that are true, but then he has obviously Democrat positions on things, which are,
I think he has, honestly, I don't know a position that he has. Like he seems to me to have older Democratic positions.
Yeah,
just Democrat positions
kind
that
of.
are older.
He believes
the modern day ones.
He does believe in the big
People are
government,
out of it.
big government to solve problems. He does believe in that in general, like more programs in order to fix things instead of. Uh, so he is a typical type of thing of like he's a good guy, but
There's
he
certain
does believe in
social
spending
systems
money.
that we need to have in place. I'm aware of him being in favor
We
of
already
certain
have the
social
systems. They
systems.
just need to work better, and we need to be able to say no to people that don't deserve them.
Right.
That's
And
what
I
needs to
think that
happen, and
that's
that's not
where
going to
he would
happen in
be
the Democrat
going.
Party.
And I think that that's where he would make improvements on. So all of these Democrat things that the establishment Democrats have been putting forward that have been enabling all of these problems, I think that he's actually would come in and have the intention to fix those problems, to prevent, because the Democrat ideas on Social Security and food stamps and all the, like, a lot of these kinds of things that are safety nets for people, I think are extremely important for our society to have, but they are broken. They're absolutely broken, and they
There are
effectively
like 3
enable.
different food stamp programs you can be a part of, and some people are part of all 3 of them. It's
Right.
so
And I
dumb.
think that he would be somebody who would be able to fix it. Whereas you look at a Republican, like, hey, Mr. Republican guy, can you work on this? Can you fix this? No, I got other stuff I'm worrying about.
I don't think that would be the issue. If there's an issue Republican has with it, I mean,
Find a
we're always trying to
Republican
cut
that's
things.
going to
Is that you're
fix it.
worried about being the evil Republican by doing the typical thing by cutting services for the poor? So that's the battle you have to fight as a Republican in general. I don't think people have. In all of the budget cut proposals, they're always trying to get rid of things like that. That's regular.
Republicans are trying to get
Yeah.
rid of food stamps and
No,
stuff.
not food stamps, not food stamps in general, but these.
Right, but they can't because they have a party that's actively working against them. So you need somebody within your own party in order to make those things happen.
So I
So
guess.
that's where he would be able to step in. So, like, all the problems that the Democrats have right now, like, I think he is a positive solution in that
I don't think you're
in that
getting good
angle.
judge. I don't think you're getting a Clarence Thomas from RFK.
Maybe not, but I think I'm getting an honest person who's anti-establishment, who believes in the right things on the right topics. Maybe he's not perfect in everything, but who is?
I would like to know. I mean, I would have to hear a lot more about. So, what I do know about him is basically he has been given the treatment of like, well, he's been such a good boy for so many years, and now he's kind of not good anymore, but he's done so much good, and he has a Kennedy last name. And so, like, they
that's
all
another
love
one.
him. They all love him except for this vaccine issue. And so, because they all love him, otherwise, it's just they're kind of divorcing themselves.
They
from
don't love him. They don't.
No, only because of this. Only because of this one issue. What I'm saying is they did love him in the past.
That's yeah, sure, in the past, because
what
he wasn't running for president.
What I'm saying is that
it's the same thing for Trump. They loved Trump in the past, but they don't like him now.
He fit right in with them until the vaccine thing came up.
But
so that's the issue I have.
But he wouldn't have. He wouldn't have, though, because if you're not establishment, then you don't fit in. Trump fit in. Trump fit in, but he wasn't establishment. And because he wasn't establishment, they booted him out. Even Republicans booted Trump out. The media booted him out, and they were all on board with him. They were like, yeah, dude. I mean, everybody was like, oh, man. When he was a Democrat, they were like, you should run for president. When he was a Republican, they were like, you should run for president. Everybody loved him. And then when it came down to it, it was, oh, he's not establishment. He's not going to go along with our plan. We gotta tarnish this guy's name in every possible way. It's the same situation with RFK.
So ultimately, I don't know enough very specific stances that RFK has
Neither do I.
To know that. So I know for certain that I would vote for DeSantis over him because I like DeSantis. But I can't give you a reason. I can't argue with your reasoning for RFK since I don't know enough. Like, I can't say that, well, you shouldn't because of X, Y, and Z. I can't tell you those things because I don't know those things.
And I'll be honest. I think for the most part, I have enough information about him, and I have a certain level of a feeling about him that enables me to feel good about
He is
him.
a good
Not that he's
human.
for you. I'm not even
Right.
coming close.
Right.
I'm not even trying to convince you that RFK is better than DeSantis.
Right.
In your opinion, I'm not even making the attempt.
But
I'm just making the
you
case.
have been comfortable on the Democrat side for so long, and he makes you feel comfortable with that again, and you like that.
I think that we do need somebody to save the Democrat Party from going into further chaos. And when he is pro women's rights and not allowing trans people to enter into sports and all this other crazy stuff, and he's anti this whole gender ideology type of a thing. He's anti-intervention. He does not want to enter us into wars. He wants to bring peace. He actually wants to bring peace, and I think that he has a historical reputation of that through his uncle.
So what's awesome about all you're saying right there is that's great. That should be a prerequisite for anyone that runs.
Yeah, but that's
that
none of
operates
them do that.
that operates in society. Those should be prerequisites for everyone.
None of them do it.
Right. So yes, RFK is the type of would be a return to the type of thing of where you could have two people debate on stage and not just be bomb throwers and hate each other and putting on this fake whatever else. You could actually have debate of ideas, and you could, so yes, he fits that, and I'm glad. But at the end of the day, I bet you he has a lot of just like democratic or socialist policies that I would be against. I mean, that's my guess.
I mean, okay,
if
you
he
can
becomes
have the
more serious,
guesses of those.
huh?
I don't even know if he does.
Right.
And you know
What I'm
what?
saying is that if he becomes more of a player, I'll figure out what those are. I tried to
Sure.
quickly Google search that for like 5-6 minutes before we
And
started.
all you
here,
heard
and
were
I couldn't
leftists
get it
being upset
down. It's all political mush about nuance, and they don't really
from
say.
people, from Democrats. It's Democrats who are hating on him because he's not
Yeah.
left enough, because he hasn't dipped into that psycho
I would
territory.
love it if there was a site that just, I'm sure there is, I don't know what it is, where they just bullet
RFK.com.
points.
Yeah.
No, bullet
I don't
points
know.
for
I
all
don't go
the
to
different
those things.
candidates. Where like they're pro this, they're pro that. Like there's a certain survey where they have where everyone
Yeah.
stands on things, and it's not politically like adjusted. Like it would probably have to be posted by a conservative, but it would be it would be because right now the conservative world is the only place where you're allowed to post things that are honest. On Democratic side, you can't. It's
True.
not that there aren't
And
some honest people in there. It's that you'll be criticized completely by your party if you put anything that's honest.
You know what? It almost makes me feel like, here's something that I just thought of. And I'm just putting it out there. I'm just putting it out there. Now, I'm still fully on board with Trump, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for the sake of saving the sanity of the Democrat Party, just for the sake of saving, because they have gone so far to the left, they have gotten so crazy that they're unrecognizable to me. They are absolute psychos. Yeah. That having a reasonable, normal Democrat, of which I have never truly had in my life. I mean, Obama seems reasonable,
yeah,
but his policies of bombing all these countries and throwing out
and also being a divider instead of a uniter on the idea
all
of race.
Kinds of crazy stuff, right? To have somebody who is a reasonable Democrat just to save the damn party,
so
is worth the vote.
But I think the best solution for that is actually to allow it to completely crash and burn, and they have to humbly come back and offer ideas that are actually realistic. So I don't think that what you do is you post this up and say and hope that it's successful. I think that the ideology has to be a bunch of AOC madness that people just completely reject. This is ridiculous. So that the other party the other party is almost like a different Democrat party completely that might have still more liberalish ideas. So like what I'm saying is I want the woke to die. I want
I
it to.
used to
I don't
I
want them just
used
to
to
hang
have that
out and
feeling
wait.
when I was like not too long ago, I'd say. I used to kind of have that feeling of like let these crazy heads collapse their own party, right?
It wouldn't hurt
But
anything. It
huh?
wouldn't hurt anything. How would that hurt? You're gonna have Republicans in power for, you know,
Yeah,
six,
but
8 years.
if you have the Republic, like, look, what's going to happen when the Republicans have dominance of the culture and of the office?
So
They're literally gonna do the exact same things
look at the timing.
that the Democrats are doing, just towards different
So
things.
I look at the timing. You know how old all of the Nancy Pelosi and Feinstein and all these people are up in there. Um, all the people that are holding it all together. They're holding the different factions of their madness together. I say that what needs to happen is they need to completely fail in this era specifically. In the next 8 years, so they're all going to die. They're not going to be there anymore.
I
And
don't
then the
think that
other
they
people
need.
that, and then, and I want the newer crowd that comes in to be more reasonable type of people on the
Sure,
Democratic side for them to then compete in a reasonable space. So
but
what I'm
here's
saying is
what you're
I
gonna
want
end
all the
up with.
woke to not be supported by the establishment right now. I want it to go away out of the
But here's what you're gonna end up with. You're gonna have a whole bunch of people who have completely lost their mind on the Democrat side, and
mhm.
then the Democrat side collapses, right?
Yeah.
But you still have a massive amount of people who are batshit crazy. And
Yes.
so now you're going to have to reintroduce them into the lanes of sanity. So why wait for them to completely collapse their sanity
So
when what you could do is you could say here's a dose of reality that is something that you can handle. Here's something that enables you to get back to normal thinking.
so what they're gonna do is vote for Joe Jorgensen or like or not Bruce Jenner, but something like that. What they're gonna do is they're gonna still be insane and they're gonna shout at the sky and it's gonna do nothing.
See, that's I feel like you're putting out um you're putting out what you want because it ends up benefiting you and your side, right? You're
Maybe
a Republican,
you know
you're a
what?
conservative, that's what you want.
Maybe so,
I'm a
but
Democrat and I'm fine
I
with the conservatives. I
I
have no issue with
want
them and I'm in favor of them,
I want
but I
old school
don't want to
debate
see
where both
either side completely
I
collapse
want
and
old
lose
school
their
debate
mind.
where people all agreed on a common set of reality, like a common set of reality that you can actually they believe that America is good and can be good, that it's not like the big evil. Like I want all the
Right.
stuff like that to go away.
But you can't make that go away when you encourage the insanity.
I want to
Because
encourage the
those people
insanity.
are just going to be pushing the insanity, and we live in a time, the age of the internet,
What
and
if
when you're in the age of the internet, then that just allows everybody to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to create
what
this
if
bubble
media
over
dies
here and
too?
I'm going to say blah blah blah, and it's some crazy nonsense.
What if the establishment media dies too, or they're not putting that stuff front and center, the crazy stuff?
That's what's going to have to happen,
So
is
what
that,
I'm saying is that like all
yeah,
that's going to happen at the same time. The collapse is not like I'm not just saying
let the
I'm not
media
just being
collapse.
selfish with the conservative ideas altogether. I mean, yes, I want that, but like I mean, everyone would want that, right? You want your ideas to win, I guess. But it's more that I want interactions with people that are not just kind of crazy with their emotions and attacking the language and changing micro transgressions and like I want all that to just go away.
Yeah,
That
but
is
you
just
have to introduce reasonability to people, and you have to
so I say you do
de-incentivize.
that by having sensible like so if for instance like you are not going to vote for a crazy person, So I guess RFK makes sense then for you, in the sense that like, but I will vote for this. And so if the Democrat parties only offer the crazy people, no one votes for it. And
Right, but
they no,
that's
no,
like
no. And then it's just sensible people that get up in there.
okay,
And then it's a
here's what
real
it's
fight
like.
again.
Here's what it's like. It's like you having a gun in one hand and you're trying to fix the other hand is acting up. It's a crazy hand. And so instead of putting the gun down and kind of taking control of the hand and being like, look, no, everything's okay.
Uh,
Everything's okay.
I think I'm
Right.
gonna
You're
vomit.
going to take it and you're going to blast it. And you're going to say, hey, guess what? Like you're so out of it. You're so lost. And now you've got this messed up, infected hand that you have to bandage up.
No,
Now you have to like rebuild it. And that's a lot of people and that's a lot of time in a system that
so
changes very rapidly.
you're saying you want to nuance the low information rabid people back into the sane world by having sane stuff exist at the front.
Yeah, that they can get on board with one way or another, right? So if you have people who struggle, they're just kind of out of their mind, and you can kind of introduce some level of, hey, here's something that I think you can get on board with because you're a Democrat, and because there's a large swath of people who are going to be pro-Democrat, they're going to vote Democrat no matter what. That's especially if Trump is the alternate option, they're going to go Democrat. So you get a more reasonable Democrat in there, and then that hand stops being so crazy, and maybe it kind of is like just kind of looking around or whatever, right?
Okay,
and then it calms down.
I think the only way
nurse it back to health without the bullet wound.
I think the only way for what you're talking about to happen is for there to be a wholesale rejection of the crazy hand politics.
I don't think so anymore. I used to think
So
that.
I think it has to be rejection on hand to the point where they decide that the strategy is to, okay, we'll take a different route. Let's play the we love America game now.
Yeah, so let's get the Democrats to hang up an American flag so that it doesn't turn out I hate my country. Let's get somebody in there who's going to make people feel.
What I'm saying is the deep state people that are on the Democrat side that are pulling the strings and are making it all happen need to decide on a change of strategy that isn't woke in order for things to change. Because otherwise, you can have an RF Kennedy up front, and that's fine, but they can still win in all these they can still have the crazy win elsewhere because this front man is enough of a give in order.
What are you gonna? Okay, here's another pitch, right? What are people gonna think? What are people gonna do if you had your options are either Trump? What is the establishment gonna do when the options are Trump or RFK? What are they going to do? Because you've got to the establishment, they are effectively equally radical. So what are they going to do? They can't just tear everything down.
See, nothing's more radical than Trump in their mind, unless Trump loses the nomination, then whoever else takes over is more radical than Trump. That's how it works. So DeSantis will be more radical than Trump.
It won't be more radical. It'll be, hey, this is somebody else who is just as radical, or they follow the radical ideology of Trump. These are MAGA people.
They made Bush to be the most evil ever, and then Romney was even worse, and everyone is even worse.
Yeah, but Bush was pretty fucked up.
He was. I don't think he was effed up. I think he was.
I think he was just as effed up as Biden is, because they were both being absolutely. Dick Cheney ran the country. Dick Cheney, hands down, ran the country.
Dick Cheney had connections with his Halliburton and stuff, and that's why people say that
he was the little puppet master, He was, this is what's like.
Now, Bush was not as dumb
Bush
as
was,
it came out to be. He was not dumb.
I think he was
He
maybe
was.
not as dumb, but I think that he
No,
was
if
led
you speak to him, he's
into
just more of a
everything.
Texan type person, and what he has going on. And this is another thing from the Glenn Beck interview. He's just talking about how he's a completely different man off screen than he is on camera because Bush bought into the whole deep state type of thing about how things work, and so his brain was calculating all the things he can't say, all the PC things, all that kind of stuff, and it didn't work with his type of. He has a very casual type of interaction, how he does things, whatever. Like it didn't work. Like he couldn't say anything, and whatever. He had these things where he says,
He could communicate, but he would communicate poorly. But even when he would communicate, he would be saying things that were very establishment forwarding.
yes,
he literally led us into
establishment. But I'm saying he wasn't an idiot like they try to portray. It's because he said things that sounded like an idiot.
If the media portrayed him to be an idiot at a level of 10, then maybe he was like an 8. Like he was enough of a dummy. He was enough of a dummy to get caught up in all. Like I specifically remember screaming at my TV as the bombs are dropping on Iraq. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? This is absolute nonsense. I mean, it was so clear to me. And for him, and I'm sitting there watching from the day of 9/11 all the way through. I'm sitting there watching the news every single night, all the time. As soon as I got home from school or whatever I was doing, I was watching all the news, and I was like, this is absolute insanity. How is it that anybody is buying into this, let alone there was just so many things that lined up that I was like, this is
so what
this
guy, I guess the argument I'm not arguing for Bush policy or anything like that. What I'm saying is that there's always a demonization of people on the Republican side, no matter what, in the media. And they chose the idiot route with
but they supported
Bush.
But they supported Bush.
Yeah,
CNN was all on board with Bush during post 9/11. They were all the Iraq war.
Yes, everyone was.
A beautiful sight.
It was a very unifying time for like 8 months or something like that.
Yeah, what a destructive, unifying time where we all got to get together and say, bravo, we get to bomb the crap out and destroy Afghanistan and Iraq. And it was like,
I would have been,
and we're all okay with it. And I
would have been more of a fan of I don't mind killing without. I don't want it to be a war. I don't want with occupation. I can almost be like
justified. Sure.
What?
None of any of this stuff was justified.
So
none of it.
So when they said shock and awe, it never happened. Shock and awe. And what I wanted, what I think was necessary, was kind of like the Hiroshima, Nagasaki type of things, where boom, and then they're like, no, you can't do that again. And they do it again. And okay.
That I don't even know about that, because that was wild. That was wild. And that was on Japan. This was okay. When you think about it, when you take a moment and you think about it, we are fighting against Hitler.
Japan was destroying.
We're fighting against Germany.
Killed all of Hawaii. Did it Pearl Harbor, basically. So
yeah. And why would they do that? Why would they do that? Because Germany was threatening them. Germany was like, either you're going to be on board with us, or we're going to destroy you. And so what do? Is we go and bomb them rather than Germany.
World War II, but
we could have just nuked wherever we thought Hitler was. Just boom.
Yeah,
like that would have made more sense. But no, you know what we decided to do?
I don't want to go in the nuclear war right now.
Hold on. Because here's what we decided to do. We decided that Japan, they had the balls. They had the balls to attack Pearl Harbor. Oh my goodness. And you know what? And then they don't even want to back. They want to fight because they have so much honor. So what we need to do is we need to crush them, because we are nation builders. We take other countries and we alter them. We fuck with them. That's what we like to do. So boom, we nuke them.
Yes.
And they have so much
In the
pride.
war.
They have because they have so much pride that they're like, I can still get up. They were basically the in Monty Python, as the limbs were just getting cut off and he's hopping around.
Yeah.
That was them. And then boom, we nuke them again. And you know what we did then? We said, hey, you know what? You're not gonna be able to have a military for another 100 years, which basically means you're never gonna get another military.
But we guarded them, and it gave them
and
economic boom.
We are going to work with you, and we are going to help rebuild you so that you are not a threat to anybody.
They were allowed to have a little bit of a navy. They were allowed to have a little bit of a navy, but they weren't allowed to have basically standing armies.
Yeah, so now we have to protect them.
Right.
So, and oh my God,
this is still off the topic. We can maybe pull up a history lesson at one point, but like in general, I'm saying that I like the idea of being strong and deterrent, so you don't have to have these long 30-year war garbage things. Like you don't have to have 20 years in Afghanistan.
Demonstrated that you don't have to do that kind of shit.
Yeah, I think
he
you do.
Demonstrated it.
Unfortunately, they don't understand anything else.
We have the establishment.
The Allah Akbar attitude doesn't care about anything but strength. Honestly, you just have to be like, no, we're gonna kill your whole family. I mean, not really, but it's like that. It's like no, we're gonna kill your whole family, and then
but you also have to wonder why they're even doing it.
Yes, and it needs to be an actual threat. Like that's what they do. Like if they have someone that feeds information to us, they kill their whole family. And so you almost need to treat it the same way, even though that's not what America is, right? But but what America can do is bomb the living shit out of a place, but like you have to do it immediately. So you have to like in response, you just like bam, and then
it should be a momentary thing. Bam. All of these a lot of these conflicts, and I look at Iran, and I'm like, okay, Iran, we took out Soleimani, right? And it was a precision strike, killed 2 people, the driver of the car and Soleimani himself, right? In a taxi cab or whatever.
That's great when that can happen,
right? And Iran's response, they were like, we're giving you guys 30 minutes to get out of this base because we're going to bomb it in retaliation. Now, what does that mean? Who does that?
I know.
Who does that?
We should just bomb it.
You know who does that? You know who does that is somebody who understands what is really truly at stake. And if he were to just be like, we're bombing this thing and we're killing more Americans and we're not giving any kinds of heads up, it's like, okay, so you do want a war then, right? Because that's a potential war. Okay, so you took out one of our guys that we're very important, but if we were to just retaliate in this way, we know the reaction that we're going to get. So we say, you got 30 minutes, and we just took it. Trump said, all right, hey, you guys get the hell out of there and, do your best because it's coming. And they got out. I think there were 0 casualties, but there were some injuries that kind of took place. But, that was the situation. Trump knew how to handle that kind of a situation.
That's fine.
He knows how to handle the world stage. Hands down, way better than anybody else could. Ron DeSantis ain't going to do anything like that. Probably not even RFK is going to do something like that.
Ron DeSantis has eyes, and he's seen what Trump has done that has worked. And so
Trump is the best president we're probably ever going to have.
Okay, I'm glad you feel that way because otherwise you're on the other team. So, I mean, I'm glad you feel that way.
Hey, I'm not. I'm on Trump's team. That's the thing. I'm not on the Republican side. I'm not even. Well, I'm not
on the Republican side per se. I'm a conservative thinker, and I also like based thought. So I mean, I guess
Trump is
Republicans suck in general. I mean, politicians suck, but
Trump is pretty based.
Yeah.
Trump knows what's up. He knows how to handle stuff, man. And it's like, I feel like it would be an absolute shame for him to not get another 4 years so that he can finish what he started, so he can fix the problems that are going on now. And I bet you all of these countries are going to be like, they're going to be running to Trump. They're going to be like, dude, help us solve this problem. Help us solve this problem. Help us solve this problem. You want to fix things. We saw that you wanted to fix things. And then we saw what happened when Biden came in. But they're also going to say, but you need to clean up your own government. You got to figure that thing out too, because as soon as you're out of here, they're going to be up to the same crazy nonsense as they were before. So the media has to get crushed. These intelligence agencies need to have some third-party oversight that like audits that figures out what it is that they're doing, and they can say, hey, this is not an okay thing. Boom, you go to jail. You go to jail. You go. Like they got to do something. There's work to do. So honestly, I don't even know if Trump has the time to deal with all of these other countries. I think if anything, he's just going to be like, hey, here's a team, here's a team, here's a team. Go talk to these people, get this thing resolved in whatever peaceful way that they can, because clearly nobody's talking to these people. Nobody's trying to do anything.
I think if there's one weakness Trump has had is picking people.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I don't know about him creating some sort of delegation force to send to different places is going to be.
I think he was playing. I think he was part playing the game. And what I really hope that he does, here's what I hope that Trump does. We're way over time, but here's what I really hope that he does is I hope he reaches out to a lot of the celebrities that have come to terms and they have come to understand that, like, there's Ice Cube, like Trump was like, hey, I want to work with you. I'll do whatever. Like, I'll work with you totally. Biden was like, yeah, I'll work with you. But Biden didn't do anything for Ice Cube. Yeah. But I guarantee you that Trump would have worked
and
with.
And there's also that comedian that does The Price is Right, the black guy. I can't remember his name.
There's all kinds of people. There's there's it's not Waka Flocka Flame. There's a rapper that he got out of prison who was over in like Sweden or Switzerland or whatever. And I think that there's enough celebrities that are willing to get on board with him, and I think he should use those people to help calm our people down. But those people need to be on board with it. And I think that a lot of those people will eventually kind of come around. But
yep,
we're getting deep into it. We got to start bringing this thing down. All right. Is there any final thoughts that you'd like to give? I'll give you the final word because I was going off.
Not really. It's just getting started. I'm really, really excited for the Elon Musk, whatever this Elon Musk connection is with DeSantis. I hope for Elon's sake that he's not endorsing anybody right now, just because.
I don't think he is. I think he's just platforming people.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope he's just platforming.
I think he's going to also platform RFK.
I want him to be successful, and half the world is already like not liking him because he's not mean to conservatives.
Let me make a quick prediction. I think that he's going to end up hosting an alternative debates for the Democrats as well.
Yep.
I think it's going to be hosted on here's my prediction. It's going to be hosted on Twitter, and he's going to be it's going to be a live stream situation. And because he's actively working on Periscope, so he's getting that kind of a code going. So he's going to work through all of that, and I bet you it's going to be hosted by like Crystal and Sagar of Breaking Points.
I bet you
and Tucker.
I bet you what's going to happen. Right, exactly. There we go.
Yeah,
I bet you this cycle. I know that Tucker is, even though he's announced a show and things, they're doing some legal stuff behind the scenes. They're trying to get things figured out. But I bet you it's going to be you might even see a Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly doing a moderation for the Republicans.
I bet you. Yeah, you're right.
That would be the play.
Yeah.
That would be the play, to have both of them do the moderations. It's something they're both ex-Fox in there. Everyone knows who they are, and that would be fantastic. And they could host that. Honestly, Megyn Kelly would at least do a good job of of hosting a debate with the Democrats too, as another anchor. Obviously, you did want to put someone on there that is a Democrat, but like, I don't know if Tucker would be great for that. But
I think out of all everybody who could do it in a Twitter space, I think they all would be fair because they don't have an alternative agenda, because all of the things that caused them in the past to have an alternative agenda, those strings are no longer attached.
Yep.
So I think that they would absolutely all be very fair, and we would see a very different landscape. So that's what I think is going to go down. Okay.
All right, we'll wrap it up.
Good. All right. Take it easy, guys. If you got this far, I know it was a little slow in the beginning, and then I got amped up a little bit later into it. That was a lot of fun. I hope that you stuck around and got this far. If you liked it, drop a like. If you made it this far, drop a subscribe. And tune in for the next one. Later, guys.